Hey everybody, how's it going? Let's play some Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup here in 2020 with this beginner caster guide and our Ogre Venom Mage in episode 3. We are playing online on the New York server, and this is version 0.25. So, we cleared out Dungeon 1. It is time to take our talents to Dungeon 2. So here are two shrines. There's Fedas and Quasl. And this brings up an interesting point about the whole business of doing a caster, which is which god do you choose? And I'm not going to tell you that there's one perfect god, because so much depends on your playstyle, what you like to do, what you're interested in, what gods you're comfortable with. What god you can find early if you are in danger, things like that. So, the guide is kind of meant to get you to a point where the character is strong, and then you can branch out and pick your own god, and then your own spell schools that you want to invest in based on the books that you get from this starter mold. However, I will say that, if I were to give a recommendation, Vehement is kind of like, some people consider it bland and cheesy, but it's a very strong god for a caster, and we'll get into that when the choice comes up. I'm not going to pick either of these gods, personally. Fetus can be okay. Quasl is not very good. Alright. So I did a little poison vapors on that goblin and wrecked his dreams. I'm going to do poison vapors on this cockroach, and let's see, he's going to get all the way to us. We'll hit him with our knife and back away. I'm going to look at my aptitudes again. I'm still training spell casting, and there's arguments to be made for turning that off and focusing exclusively on the schools that I'm looking to improve my reliability with in terms of casting. So if I open up my casting menu, you can still see that Mephitic Cloud is at a 30% failure, for example. So I could turn on Conjuration, which I'm going to use anyway later. But I am training Air, which doubles on Poisonous Vapors and Mephitic Cloud. Now, I'm not going to go super high on those unless I plan on taking Air Magic, all the way to the end or something like that. Right now, I'm primarily training Poison. I can probably actually turn off Transmutation in a little bit, but I haven't gotten that much experience, so I'm going to keep it going with this. The Ogre has a good aptitude with spellcasting. He has the +1 there. And spellcasting affects your fail rate, spell hunger, your magic pool, and I believe the potency, power level. So it's still a nice thing to have, while it's relatively cheap. I'm going to give this guy a sting. Generally, what you want to do when you encounter enemies that are close enough and that are weak is to still try to give them the sting, because it's more efficient at this point, and leaves you with more magic points. Now, this is an adder, alright? So an adder, you can see that he is a yellow enemy over here. When his name is in yellow like that, that means he's like pretty challenging. He's much more challenging than the gray enemies or white enemies. Not as bad as like, light red or dark red, but he's, like equal level or formidable. Now, he's also really quick and hard to hit, so Sting might miss him. Poisonous Vapors, however, remember, it automatically hits, so it's always good to give the adder a blast with that. Now I'm going to try to sting him, and I did get him. He's got 2 poisons on him, so I think I might just go up a little bit, see how much the poison is going to do to him. Now, the adder moves very quickly, so he will get some hits on you when you walk him back. It's not an attack every single movement, but it's like 1 in 3 movements, it appears that he's going to get a strike on me. And while that stinks, it's still better than nothing. So I'm going to go diagonal. Now there's a kobold here who's going to wake up eventually. So we have to be careful. And I'm going to swing my knife at the adder because he's almost dead. And we did kill it. And we're level 4. The kobold wants to throw a stone. Let's sting him once, twice, and then rest. Butcher this corpse. Okay. Then I've got myself set with level 4. And I could memorize Ignite Poison at this point. I have enough schools for it. And I'm actually going to do it. Ogre's Toxic Radiance is an insanely fantastic spell. And we're going to get it. But I'd like to have Ignite Poison first. And I'll explain why. The one thing that's a very big weakness for this build are the undead. The undead are just immune to poison, so you're kind of like, well, I can't do any damage to you. And that's a big problem, right? But what you can do is this awesome combo where you can cast Mephitic Cloud and then ignite the poison, and the cloud of poison that you have set, the 3x3 with Mephitic Cloud, will catch on fire. And then if there's undead within that fire, they will take the fire cloud damage and get hurt tremendously. So it's kind of your workaround combo for enemies that don't care about poison. Now here's a room full of dudes. And I still can't really cast Mephitic Cloud very reliably. It's 28% fail with massive consequences. So I'm going to close this door, open, and then someone will open it eventually, but I'm going to move away until we get guys, and then I'm going to go to this little hallway over here so that I can limit the amount of dudes that are going to fight me. These goblins and hobgoblins, they're not really that dangerous, so I'm going to kind of step here and step around, and then I'm going to step here. Now I'll see the enemy when he is in the doorway. Okay, I'm going to just push S to wait, and I'm going to blast him with Sting. And then I'm going to push S and blast this guy with Sting. Now, the Gnoll has come out. He's a little harder, so I'm going to move diagonally, and the Gnoll is throwing stuff at us. Alright, so this Gnoll is here throwing rocks at us, and I'm going to give him Vapors. It says, now remember, the enemies are smart. When you're casting or shooting or whatever, and there are squares that are out of sight, they will step into those on their pursuit of you so that you can't blast them. But he has been poisoned. The poisonous vapors surround him. He's poisoned. And so I'm going to move back and back again just to get some distance. And look how much damage the poison has done. I'm actually going to poison him again, and he will just die on his own as I step around the corner. Now this is a new Gnoll. And I'm going to poison him up and move over, getting some magic points back. And here he comes. He wants to throw these rocks at me. He's really serious about it. I'm just pushing S to wait for him, and now he's arrived. I'm going to blast him with Sting, and then I'm going to hit him once with my dagger, and he dies. And then this hobgoblin I can hit with my Sting. I have no magic left, so I'm going to wait, and he's dead. And then what we want to do is rest. And so we were able to kind of clear out that room by maintaining maximum distance. And that's something you really have to do as a caster, is just make sure that you're preserving space between you and the enemy. Because I'm wearing a robe. I have like a male dress on, and that's not the strongest. And this is a shrine to Okawaru, we will not be worshipping Okawaru. He's a fantastic god for combat, melee combat, but not for casting spells. Alright, so here comes a rat, and I've just kind of vaporized him. And I'm going to let him die. I'm going to rest. And let's pick up these 2 unidentified scrolls. Now you can see that scroll of fear. We pick it up. It is identified because we have already read it. This adder is poisoned. We can move out and just kind of walk back and let him die. Butcher him up. You don't really need to butcher. Oh. Yeah, that's right. Worm is weird. So let me go over to the worm. There's something strange about the interaction between the poisonous vapor cloud and the worm, but in that time I got him. Let's try to get him again, and he's dead. All right. Worms are usually okay because they're so slow. Let's go. Let's just let this bat do its thing. It'll come fight us when it wants to. And we sting it. I'll poisonous vapors this guy, or try to, and then we miscast it. Remember, we're still not the best. I still have a 10% fail rate with that. Alright, get ourselves another scroll. Putting a bunch of poisonous vapors on this guy, and I'm being very liberal with it because there's no other enemies right now on the screen. So I can afford to just let him do that. I know I don't need to butcher with auto butcher set on. I'm just going to let this guy die, but I'm just used to doing it, so sometimes old habits die hard. Now we have 10 MP and 45 hit points as we've reached level 5, but if I go to memorize, you'll see I do only have 2 spell levels right now because you get 1 for leveling up, and I must have qualified for a new one with my spell casting. I'm going to let him come in, and we'll just kill them both. These guys are so weak that I'm actually going to let them close the distance. Okay, now we have a situation where Robin is on the screen, so I'm going to just back away from them. Robin is going to try to pump these guys up, so I'm going to try to kill them slowly while he is not buffing them, if I can. Yeah, see that I'm missing a lot here. I'm going to look at the map and see what my escape route is. It's this way. Alright, that guy's dead. And then Robin did buff him, but now he's dead. Alright, so we've got everybody dead. It's just a matter of dealing with Robin. And I'm not going to engage him without full magic points, just to be safe. So I'm going to go up the stairs and then get my magic back. And then I'm going to go down a different staircase because Robin will be waiting for me at the bottom of that one. So let's go here and try to find Robin in a different context. Alright, here comes some goblins here. This is not where we would want to find Robin, not around his buddies. There he is. So now we can just poison vapors him again, step back, and he can throw goblins at you, by the way, which is what he just did, which is hilarious. I'm going to then, now I can't use my macros because there's too many targets on the screen, so I'm just going to push Z, A for sting, and target this guy. And then I'm going to step over here. Robin has died, so now I can go back to... He died from the poison. I can go back to just blasting people with sting. Backing off. There you go. Alright. Alright, everything looks good. I just need to get some more experience, kill some more dudes. One thing you can do that is helpful is you can push Control O, and this will open up a screen that shows you all of the dungeon branches that you have access to. For example, I'm in the main dungeon. It has 15 levels, and then it also shows you all of the god altars that you have seen so far, and they show up in white. So you can be like, oh, I did see Wujian, I forgot about that, and then go back and worship if you were interested. But we haven't found our god yet that we're looking for, and that is Dungeon 2 completed. Whoa, this is kind of a nasty entrance. So this is a great point to mention an aspect of the game that you're probably familiar with, but is one of the best strategies for dealing with going to a new floor on the dungeon. So you go down and immediately enemies are there. They can be right up on you, and they can be even attacking you. Going up and down the stairs unfortunately takes a turn, which means that enemies get an attack on you when you go up or down if they're aware of your presence. And so that really stinks. That, you know, there's this moment where, like, if you're standing on the steps with 1 hit point and there's enemies near you or able to get a shot at you and you try to go up, they will get to shoot at you before you get up. So that's bad. So you have to be aware of that. You have to plan that into your tactics. However, you can exploit the fact that you can do something called stair dancing, which means any enemy that's adjacent to you around the staircase, if you go up or down the stairs, given some restrictions, like for example, if it's a zombie or certain enemy types, most enemies will follow you up or down the steps. So like this adder, he might not follow me because he's not aware of me. He's got the question mark. But either way, I'm going to go up the steps. Okay, the snake didn't follow me, but he bit me and poisoned me, right? So that just shows you all I did was go down and then go up, and that opened me up to getting bit and getting poisoned. So now I don't want to go down that staircase. That is a bad staircase. So you need to be very careful about using staircases. So we have the information that this staircase is bad. One thing you could do if you wanted to just remind yourself of that is you can push X to bring up the cursor and move around the map. And then what you can do is push E on the staircase and then push E again. And what this does is it creates an exclusion on a single square. So I have like made a red X on this staircase, and now what this means is like I can't go down this staircase unless I confirm it. So it's just a reminder to me, do not use this staircase, it's bad. And so I'm gonna look for another staircase that goes down, and I'm gonna go to this one. You see the yellow asterisk in the upper right corner? That means that you have not gone down this staircase, and so it's a new staircase. So the asterisk always means it's new, and we want a new one, okay? So we can go down, and now we're in a new area of Dungeon 3, and there's no enemies around. This is a much better staircase for us to use. So let's just push O and explore. Here's a bat who is sleeping. I will just sting him. He is dead. We will butcher him. And there's Makleb. And Makleb is a fine god to worship if you like. You know, I'm not going to, but if you're interested in a god, you can always push Shift period for the right caret, which kneels down, and then it will tell you all the information about the god. And you can either push Enter or J to join, or you can just push Escape to be like, nah, no, thank you, I don't want to join. This lets you summon demons. You get health when you kill things. It's better, in my opinion, for a melee fighter. I'd rather have the Humant, who will give you magic points when you kill things, because my MP is almost in some ways more important than health, because if I don't have MP, then I can't do damage, and then I'm in real bad shape, or Escape, or anything like that. So I'm going to push Escape. I'm not going to worship him, but you can check it out if you like. A knoll comes into view, and whenever an enemy comes into view, the auto explore will stop, and it's a good time to just read the text in the lower left and see what's going on. This guy has a +1 whip of pain, so that's important information to be aware of, that like he's going to do extra damage with his whip. It's going to do pain damage, so we don't want to mess around with that. So there's 2 knolls on the screen, so we want to make sure that we're casting poisonous vapors. I pushed Z and then B to cast poisonous vapors, and then it's auto-targeting this guy. And you look at his picture, and he's got a whip in the picture, and you look in the lower left, and it says aim a knoll wielding a +1 whip of pain. This is the one I want to kill first, because he's got this like whip that's magical that can do extra damage. So he is, in my opinion, the greater threat. So I'm just poisoning him with vapors, and I'm going to walk back into this hallway. You always want to try to get yourself into a hallway when fighting position-wise to limit the amount of enemies that can get on you in melee. So for example, in this spot, for these guys who are coming from the top, only one enemy can fight me. Now, of course, enemies could come around and flank me, but that's not going to be the case right here. By the way, if you're looking for a guide about how to fight, it's more oriented toward melee, but it's very useful for all aspects of Dungeon Crawl. I have a guide on the channel that's 5 tips for picking a fight in Dungeon Crawl. It just really explains philosophically some strategies that you need to keep in your mind every time you're going to choose whether or not you want to engage an enemy or you want to run away. Alright, and so I'm going to just walk backwards, and this guy's been really poisoned now. He's almost dead, so I'll just give him one more vapor, and he has died. So now I'm going to give this guy the vapors, and just walk back, use all this space. You can see what you've explored and what you haven't on the map. The brown lines mean fog of war, you don't know what's over there. And then the dark gray is the floor, these lighter grays are the walls. And so you can see, here's my stairway in teal. Here's the enemy in this kind of like aqua-ish color, I believe. Oh no, that's an item, I'm sorry. And then the gold is an altar. And so, because I know everything that's down here, that doesn't mean an enemy couldn't have walked over here, but the chances are much less likely than in me going into one of these unexplored areas. I can safely just kite this guy back around the corner. I know he's going to follow me forever. And so he's coming around, you can see, and he's poisoned. And remember, you can just stack up poison on people. So I'm going to cast Toxic Radiance again, and it kills him. And we'll just rest, get our magic back. Okay. This is a good lesson. Here is Sigmund, okay? So Sigmund is the bane of many players early in the game. He is extremely tough. You can see his name appears red to me, which is, good lord, Sigmund is here. Okay, no, it means he's very, very challenging. Now, he has, you can see, a scythe and a wand of polymorph. So, his scythe can hit you for a lot. He can polymorph you into, like a pig, or some type of enemy, creature, I should say, that can't do the things you want to do. You can't fight normally, your armor is messed up, it's terrible to get polymorphed. You have to just run away until it wears off. And additionally, he also has his own spells. You see, like the fire from his hand. He can shoot fire. He can turn himself invisible. He is very, very hard. Luckily, he is asleep right now. So if you encounter Sigmund, and this is another thing that's cool about playing as, you know, an Ogre Venom Mage early, is that you can see here that I do have 1 pip of stealth, which means that I'm like sort of sneaky. I'm not very loud, and my spells aren't very loud, for the most part. Remember, you can push Z, go to your spells, and then push exclamation point to show how loud they are. So Ignite Poison and Mephitic Cloud, like these are really loud, but my main spells don't make very much noise. So most enemies are not aware of me as I move around, and we can use this to run away. I would recommend this for Sigmund. We are on only the 3rd floor of the dungeon. I don't have a wand I can evoke. I only have 1 potion of curing, and I do have scrolls, but most of which I don't know what they are. So, in this case, discretion is the better part of valor. And let's just walk away. Okay? And let's just try to get to a different part of this floor where Sigmund is not. Okay? Alright, so he's still not around. And I'm going to go here, and you can push Shift exclamation point, and it says annotation for D3, and this means like you can leave a note for yourself. So I'm just going to type Sigmund, just so I remember, oh my god, Sigmund is on this floor, that I don't forget. And when you push Control O, like I showed you before, the game itself will note that there is a unique on this floor, and the exclusion that I marked on D2. And then here's my note in all caps for Sigmund. Now watch this. If I actually go up and then I go down, it says level annotation Sigmund. So I know the game is like telling me Sigmund is here. Now you don't have to put the annotation, the game is kind of doing that for you, but I like the double reminder sometimes, especially with something like Sigmund, who's just going to end your game early and it's very frustrating. So this way you can be safe. When you kill Sigmund, the annotation from the game will go away, and then you can push exclamation point to get rid of your annotation and then delete it, so it's like cleared annotation there. And then if I go up and go down, you can see that the game's built-in annotation is telling me that Sigmund is here, that I've spotted Sigmund and he's still alive. So just things you can do to help yourself. I've put an exclusion down and I've marked the area with an annotation to be mindful. All right, everybody, I think this is a great place to stop this episode of our beginner caster guide. We have now 4 spells online. We are training 4 skills, all spell related. We've made it to D3. We still haven't found our god, but you really won't find your god most of the time until you get to the Ecumenical Temple, sometimes even deeper if you have a specific god that you're going for. And we've got our nice dagger, and we've got a bunch of scrolls. You know what, before I end the episode, let me just read these scrolls on D2 because it's fully explored. So we got a scroll of Remove Curse, which is amazing. Magic Mapping. Noise. Okay, see, that's why you read them on a cleared level, because you can see my noise meter up here is like maxed out almost, and that means I just made a huge noise, so any enemies around would come rushing to kill me. But luckily there's none because I've killed them. Amnesia. I don't really want to forget any of my spells. I'm just going to push escape and then tell the game, yes, I do want to do that. And then Immolation. Okay, so some dangerous spells, or scrolls, but here's the key. We got a scroll of Remove Curse, and we have 2 rings. So what I like to do is put on rings and jewelry if I have extra scrolls of Remove Curse, so you can identify them when you put them on, and if they're cursed, you can just take them off. The cool thing about Remove Curse is it removes all of your cursed items, so you can do 2 for 1 or even 3 for 1 if you have an amulet. So I'm going to put on this golden ring plus 6 ring of strength. That's great. And then a ring of protection from magic. So both of these rings are really, really good. I don't need to take them off, and I will keep them on. I don't need to use my scroll. Let me just clear my inventory. I'm going to drop this club. I'm going to drop this regular dagger. Okay, and then everything else is pretty clean. I want to keep all of this stuff, and we're set. Okay, now this is a good place to end the level, or the episode. I will say, if I push Shift 5 and go to my magic resistance, because I got that ring, I now have 1 pip of magic resistance, which will help me out against Sigmund from he likes to confuse you, and he has his Wand of Polymorph. Both of those things roll against magic resistance, so having MR will help me somewhat have a better chance of surviving against him, and that's really important. Alright, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you are learning about, you know, early game caster related stuff. If you have any questions for me about this build or any kind of caster stuff, any dungeon crawl stuff, please put those in the comments below. I'd love to help you out, and I hope you enjoyed and found this video to be informative. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, could you please do so? If you're a dungeon crawl player, I have many videos about dungeon crawl, and I'm streaming it on Twitch. I'm putting out more videos each week, so keep checking the channel. You'll find lots of stuff emerging about this amazing, long-lived, free-to-play, challenging, satisfying game. All right, everybody. Thanks again for watching. I hope you have an excellent evening or day, and I'll check you in the next one. Take care.